All right, we are starting here momentarily. I know I see a couple of you already on here. Please feel free to do us the favor of starting to engage on this video, hitting the share button so others can see that we are live. You can also start commenting so we see your bright faces in the chat section and can pull that right over. All right, perfect. Well, let's go ahead and get this going. I want to go ahead and welcome you all back to our broadcasts. Our broadcasts are available to you at any point in time to rewatch, replay, rewind, continually ask questions on, even if it's content that's past or maybe things that we do not even touch on. Your questions and comments allow us to kind of carve out some time to address those for you and make sure that the information that we are bringing you is relevant and that you find of value. Now, I reiterated this at the start. If you haven't already done so, please make sure that you engage with this video. You can do that with any of the reactions on the video or by commenting on here as well. You can feel free to comment along the way, or you can do so right now. So that way we can see your name, we'll see your profile picture, and we'll pull you up as a great example for others. Now, if it's your very first time on our page, then I want to welcome you to our broadcast here with the mayor this morning, giving us updates on all things going on in City Hall, City Council. We allow for this as a platform to really engage with you one-on-one, and they love hearing from you, our elected officials at the local level, and be able to bring you some information that they feel is of value from their different perspectives. So every week, this was the mayor's idea in 2022, was to highlight a counselor or another elected official from the diocese. And every week we give you a different perspective from each of our different counselors. So I think it's been working out very well. If you haven't already found us on all social media platforms, you can locate us on Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, Westminster Chamber of Commerce or Westy Chamber. All of those allow for us to share different messages in just different digestible ways. So find us on there, engage with us, like us, so we can re-engage with you as well. I already see on here with us Mayor Pro Tem Dave DeMott hopping on. He's one of my very first that gave us a quick good morning message. Thank you for being on here with us once again this morning. We also have our current board chairman, Brian Dice, with a quick good morning remark both to the mayor and myself. Thank you, Brian, for being on here with us. And then, of course, we have Parker Brown giving us a quick good morning note. Thank you, Parker, for everything you do in our business community. So, Mayor, let's hop right into it. I know I delayed you with my tech issues, so I want to turn this over to you so I can hear more from your end. You stay busy, and I know that you touch so many people throughout the community. I've seen some photos, especially over the last couple of days, with various projects that you've been personally passionate about. So I'll turn this over to you, and I'll do my best to capture some of that in the comment section.
Well, I'll just start. I went sort of through my calendar of where we left off last time, and I know it's been 8 weeks, so I'll just give you a rundown of the last couple of weeks because it's been busy enough. But last week had a great invitation from City of Brighton, and the mayor asked all of us in the region to come, and they did their state of the city address and got to meet their new city manager that they have on board and their council. And, you know, they just had such fun with what they did. They had a little video of each of them sort of in their certain place, and they just did it well. It was funny, kept us laughing. It was on point. I mean, it was boom, and we were done, and we're like, whoa, this was good. So that was fun, and it is great that the one thing when I had been mayor before, working with all of the metro mayors and the mayors in our region, you know, since when I left in 2013, all of us had worked together so much. We continued having once a month breakfasts. And so when you form those kind of relationships, working through hard times and working through things that mean so much, it was really nice keeping up with everybody. So I am grateful. Things have been opening up, and we've been able to have open meetings. We just had a Metro Mayor's meeting that was in person, and getting to know the new faces, what people are dealing with has just, that's always invaluable because you realize everyone's working on some of the same things, some different things you can always learn from. So I love it. But then our new Park and Recs director, Tomas, invited me to lunch with the Council of Mexico, and I got to meet her. What a wonderful, beautiful lady. And she's looking for ways that we can connect and partnership and do some things for our Spanish speaking residents in the city. And they have some great things they're thinking about. So I'll have no spoiler alerts here, but stay tuned. And then we had a regional convening on homelessness. Very, very pointed. What I liked about this group, they are looking at veterans are first. They're trying to get to zero veterans, and they believe that will be pretty close. They gave what is happening in the region, how we're reaching out to the veterans. There's different kinds of housing and opportunities when we find a veteran on the street to help them get back to a life that they're wanting. And so after we do that piece, then you start moving down so that they're being very focused in this one area that's doing that. So that was good. Then like I said, we had our Metro Mayor's Caucus. That is always fascinating, and 3 hours goes in a blink of an eye. But one of the great things there, the gentleman that the group that built our Bradburn Village over off of 120th and between Sheridan and Lowell. And we have all sorts of housing there. So from the $1 million homes to starter homes. And they really have been taking a look at housing for everyone because they believe housing does produce wealth, not rent. And so they really have some start thinking of, it gets complicated quickly, but there's some other entities out there looking at helping. And so there'll be some different kinds of funding and bonding that people can look at. So they're even talking about townhomes, 2, 3, or 4 plexes, so that homes are maybe a few homes together, but not necessarily separate. But anyway, just how to get people into homes. Then we had an ADCOG meeting, which is the Adams County side of everybody that's in Adams County gets together, the mayors, the councilors, and managers. And we were at North Glen for our first opening, and it was lovely in their new rec center. It is so fun and is so beautiful. So it was a perfect setting. And Mayor Leggety did a great job of getting some programs together. The one I really, if you're following all of the things that are going in at the state capitol and around fentanyl, opioids, all of that stuff. There's a bill right now, last I saw, that under 4 ounces of fentanyl isn't going to be a major anything. And 4 ounces of fentanyl will kill 2,000 people. How can any amount of fentanyl in your possession, which I don't know why anybody needs it, in their possession, except for if you're in a hospital setting. Why? I cannot wrap my head around it for one instant and justify it, but that's what we're dealing with downtown under the Gold Dome. And of course, Heidi Williams, former mayor of Thornton, works in the Attorney General's office and has been working on the opioids and done a great job. And so we had lots of conversation around that. Once a month, we meet with our RTD board directors, and that is Vince Busick and Troy Whitmore in our area. And we meet, and again, it's just over lunch or breakfast. And I happened to be with the mayor from Broomfield, and we shared what each of us is doing with water, and
Mm.
just hearing what everybody's dealing with. And then Friday.
Yeah.
Friday was a wonderful day because I got to work with yarn,
Yes.
and I met people from a yarn group in Arvada. We're talking about possible yarn bombing extravaganzas in the city. And it's just, it's so much fun to be, people that work with watercolors and oils. They do beautiful work. I only do artwork through thread. So they needed crocheters, and a bunch of us came down. I don't know the names of all of the people from the different groups, but we had a fun time. We have one language, and that's our hooks and needles, and with the yarn. And a young man from Ukraine had done the picture. He had um, it's the dove, if you've seen it, and
Yeah.
it's done in the blues and golds, yellows. So London, who she started out yarn bombing, so she's a person after my own heart. But that led to somebody asking her to do something, and here she is. We are one of three where the mural's going to be hung in the United States, and it is hung at the Mac down at 72nd and Hooker. I couldn't think of a better street to have it on because of our hooks. But I was reminded when I put that address on Facebook, I had to be sure to put street or they would take us off because of the word hooker. So, so anyway, there were 50 squares that came from all over the world. I know one of our squares came from Spain. So she gets, like, we're now on a list. Any of us that were there put our name and emails. So when she has another project, she'll email out and see if anybody wants to do such a thing. And because of the pattern, the way the gentleman laid it out, you were given that square. So some of them are totally blue, some of them are totally the gold color,
Mhm.
then some that are in the center where the dove is, you would maybe have to use both colors to create whatever. It's amazing. Nobody was together that put this thing together at home in their homes and sent them in. And when you see that picture, they fit together beautifully. So all we did was the simple fun stuff of, and I'm a lefty, so I could sit at the left end of a long strip. Kathy Pasco from the Historical
Yeah.
Society was with me, and she sat on the right-hand side. And then you could do either way in the center, but that way we came together and the strips went together. I had to leave at 11:30 to go to my RTD meeting, and it was one seam away from being put together. And then
Oh,
they
wow.
told us how they're going to hang it outside. So please go by and look. I haven't even asked how long it's going to be there, but somebody went by yesterday and took a picture, and their picture showed it even bigger than I thought it would show on that
Yeah.
front of the Mac. But it's beautiful. And, our hearts are obviously with everybody in Ukraine and what they're dealing with. But to have a 16-year-old design this and people from around the world make it happen, I just think it's pretty exciting.
Oh, I think so too. I think that's so beautiful. And you said a line, I mean, out of everything that you were saying, which is all great things, but the one line that I loved was about the one language, hooks and needles. I'd never heard that before. And I just there is so much beauty and art and the creative space that you're in and what you do. And I think that's just it's so wonderful that it's here in Westminster, one of three cities that has it all over the nation. And just to hear kind of the stories of each of those patches that you were talking about coming from Spain and other places, it's truly inspiring. So I know I will make it a point to go out there. If you have not already done so, please
Yeah.
drive by over by the Mac and check that mural out. Of course, take photos, post about it, tweet about it so that others can see that. I know the mayor had taken some photos as it was kind of underway that you can
Mhm.
also check out on her personal page as well. But, I love that it brings everyone together and it's just such a holistic way to do that. And then when you start talking about these like yarn bombs and yarn parties and everything, I'm like, this is just like a whole other universe that's out there.
I'll never forget when when I was leaving office the first time in 2013, back in April, because it takes time to plan yarn
Yes.
bombings. I went to Chief Burke at the time, our police chief, and I said, "Is yarn bombing under graffiti, and will I get arrested if I do it?" Well, he didn't hear anything but bombing,
Bomb.
and
Yes.
he said, he just looked at me like his head whipped, and he said, "What did you say again?" So I had to explain, and I was going to make leg warmers for the elk. That's the big elk that is as you
Oh,
come in off of Yates.
yes.
And so he just sort of said he would see nothing, hear nothing, and do nothing. So I went to the elk because he's got big legs and one of them sits flat. So I knew I couldn't slip it over his hoof. The other one I could,
Mhm.
but he goes from skinny to bigger. And so I took those measurements and links and everything. So I knew how to make his leg warmers. And I thought when I put him on, and I sat under him to put him on because I had to stitch the one up,
Yeah.
and no one ever saw me. So I laughed because even the fire chief at the time, Doug Hall, he was on a walk for the day, and no one said anything about what I was doing under that elk. So I laugh, and so after that was all done, I figured somebody would cut them off, and that would be that.
Yeah.
But they still appear, and I know who has them, and I know who does that.
Oh
But
my gosh.
secrets are kept, and I know it wasn't me, so it was just flabbergasting when I went by, and the elk
You still saw it.
had his stuff on, and so then the next maybe 2 years later, for fun thing, I did the stop signs, the long
Yes.
poles. I just did candy cane likes for Christmas. And then I did scarves for each of the statues there, the police and the fire statue, did some hats and stuff. And
Mhm.
we knew a lot of times you just put a note on it that if you need this more than the statue does, feel free to take it. And so those did leave, but they were meant to leave. And so this started a whole new conversation for the community. But I
Yeah.
told them, if we're going to do anything fun, you have to give enough notice because you just don't do those things overnight.
Right.
And what we did, I helped. The first yarn bombing I did was helping the city of Broomfield. They have their old depot, and they have where Shep, the dog that was at the
Yes.
toll bridge, his gravesite. So we made felted flowers and put them on sticks
Oh,
for around his grave. And then we did some garlands for their railing. I did the stop signs because I had already done that for something. And
sure.
then I had done flowers. So I sewed the flowers on. So it was very pretty. And so everybody had done something, but I said we had a sign up sheet. So we knew what we were going to do. And the person that had scheduled everything knew the length of like the porch. So if you were
Yeah.
doing the garland, you knew what you needed there. She knew the circumference of the tree if you were going to do that one. She knew the height of the stop signs, so I used that, and then she gave me the diameter. So I just explained to them, you need to know that the area,
Sure.
you need to know what you're going to bomb, and then you need the dimensions so that we know what yarn to get, and we sign up and we know what our part is. And then you come together on a day and everybody knows what they did. They go to their spots and poof,
Yeah.
it is magical.
That's so cool. I do love that. I'm gonna start keeping an eye out, especially for, for on the elk, and it's kind of like our own little elf on the shelf in our community. But that's such a great way of describing it for me because I've never heard that before. But I feel like it would bring just kind of the community together, looking for a lot of those things and finding some of that creative pieces around. Well, I'm excited for it. I think that's terrific.
We have to
Chris,
have fun. The community
yes.
is about fun.
Exactly. That is awesome. Christine, thank you for hopping on with us. Christine gave us a quick good morning message our way. Thank you for spending part of your Monday with us right before you start work and running your business, of course. And then I also see Brian Head, our past chairman, giving us a quick good morning message. Thank you, Brian, for being on here with us. And Wayne, I saw you sneak in and give us a quick thumbs up. So don't think that you went unnoticed in there. Mayor, you went through a number of things that you've been able to get involved in over the last few weeks. And I know that this is a very short list. And I know this because generally you have two or three things going on when I request one thing. So thank you for giving us some of those high points. With regard, I do have a quick question on RTD, and I'm curious if this is something that you all spoke to, or maybe you know the answer to this just with being involved. But it seems like, especially after COVID, there's not been as many buses that are out on the roads. Are you aware if there have been schedule changes? Have they just not gone back to the full schedule because of operators and maybe the lack thereof, or where that stands?
Yeah, and we asked that Friday to Troy Whitmer, who was
Okay.
there as our RTD director, and just asked, and they're right around 50% back, but
Okay.
not all areas. And the big thing is they don't have enough train um, conductors or the
Mhm.
drivers,
Right.
and same for the bus. The other thing is the reality of where our society is right now with drugs and not always being kind to one another and stuff. Um, what I know from some of the stories of what some bus drivers, especially because they're right there, and people coming in on the bus and sitting and whatnot, they can get agitated. They can I know, even writing it for the 12 years I worked downtown, if somebody's had a bad day, they just take it out on everybody,
Yeah.
and the person sitting there driving us is the one that is just always the constant there. So, um, they're talking about having a second person riding with them, just another security
Yeah.
point. I don't think they have all of that locked down yet. Uh, but if anybody's looking for a job, I know they just went through, he talked about a lot about their collective bargaining and things that they just finished, and they're giving their folks a 16% raise. He said, I think the drivers are up to 24 an hour,
Wow.
and they need mechanics. So it all dovetails into each other. If they have something down and they don't have mechanics to fix it, they can't get it back on the road. If they don't have enough, and here's the bad thing, especially for the train, buses, we tend to have enough come and go on 36 that if one went down within a half an hour, you're going to have at least another one coming. So that's not horrible. But with the trains, if you miss one, like at our B line down at 71st and Irving, it's an every hour. So you miss that one, you're not going to make anything. Even when I was trying to go down to the Metro Mayor's Caucus, there wasn't a good recipe for me to get down there. And if I went bus, I had to have so much time to walk to get to where we meet. If I go train, I got down there too early. And what are you going to do at 6:30 in the morning waiting for something to open up? So um, people that can't have regular schedules, that's hurting them. They understand that. They're working hard to get back, but if they don't have riders, it doesn't make good sense either to just have buses on the street that are taking gas or
Mhm.
natural, however they're powered. I know they have some electric
Yeah.
using on 16th Street Mall, but um, we're all having to tighten belts a little bit with the price of gas and energy and everything. So they they are working hard. The one thing they're looking at is the month of August having free fares on everything, but
Yeah.
it will be a cost to local communities. And we
Sure.
talk about that because if anybody's able to come and go at any site, and uh, people that aren't normally coming and don't know the area or whatnot, they're just going to have to, they said, well, we're going to have to rely on local enforcement to help us with that month. And I said, that would be great if we were up to speed with the number of people we
Right.
need. It's no different than what you're telling us. And,
Yeah.
you know, there's been not many, but there has been a time or so where we've had more than one issue going on in the city, and you run out of officers for
Right.
whatever shift that is. So that's real. We've been managing. We're doing okay, but to add one more thing, and especially when it's not, if it was more in the central area where so many of the different groups could, where whatever officers were out on which beat could get to it quicker. But when it's in only the far south area of one
Mhm.
beat, it would be harder for other people to come if there was help needed. So we just have to think about that as a community,
Right.
as a city, and give feedback. And we did. Everybody's, we aren't in the only shape there. Everybody, I mean, Denver is down, I don't know how many officers. So it is, if anybody wants to be a lifeguard or a law officer, we have plenty of spaces for those people.
Right.
I
Yes.
mean, we need lifeguards so people can swim,
I
because
know.
we can only have so many. So that's, I keep saying to the swimmers that are our swimmers on the swim teams, get your life-saving stuff because you've got an instant job.
Right? You do, and you've got some flexibility that's there. It's a great experience for them. I mean, some of these jobs are just these are good jobs. They're good paying jobs, and they're you've got so much flexibility that's there. So anyone that's out there, whether you have kiddos or you know you yourself want to enter some different career professions, these are open, available positions with our city. It makes it really nice to be able to have that support and benefits and the resources that the city offers. And thank you so much, Mayor, for going in detail on that. It isn't a simple answer on RTD. I don't think it ever is, especially when we talk about transportation.
Yeah.
But when you start really shaping as you were doing, which is, we're in this chicken and an egg pattern, right? Like, which happens first of people actually carving out the time with so much uncertainty about the timings and the schedule, and having a schedule without knowing whether people are going to be there to actually fill those seats and get people out there. So it is an interesting place that we're in. I'm grateful to have you as our voice there, that's allowing them to think on everything and not just this one solution, but how does that impact the entire community, our law enforcement, and others. So very appreciative of that. I know we're coming down to the wire, unfortunately. Like, our time always goes by very fast, and I could pick apart like so many of these and go in detail. But
I just
tonight
have
is
one. I have one more thing.
yes.
The fire department had their recognition awards on Thursday night, I believe it was, and those are just always heartbreaking things because, you know, you think, well, that's their job. Well, it is, but when you hear the stories of going that extra mile and the lives they saved, and they had one couple up there who's it was the husband who was in trouble, and the wife was giving resuscitation until the fire could get there. And it just, we there, I don't think there was a dry eye in the space. It was wonderful. Whenever you see any, whether it's a fire truck, a police, when they have those sirens on, say a quick prayer for them, because they're always entering, they don't know what. But at
Mm,
that dinner, I have to give a big shout out to Carrabba's, and
yes.
they always, Parker, you did it, food was delicious. It was just magnificent. And he was right there to make sure everybody was served. And I know where his heart is. So I just wanted to put a shout out to Parker for great dinner, and to our fire department. Their awards are just always special, and heartfelt stories. And like I said, had a special thing for Chief Hall, who's going to be leaving in July. And but to all of them and hearing what they reacted to, what they were doing, these people that, they're telling the hospital, here's what we're dealing with. They get them to the hospital and they survive. Just, we all look at each other like, oh, we don't have a dry eye here. Let me catch my breath. So I just had to share
Yes.
that. That's good.
Of course. No, thank you so much for sharing. I think it's worthwhile to mention. I mean, our police and fire, they truly put their lives on the line and they sacrifice a lot, and so does their family for them to be in that role. And so I think it's really touching for you to have shared that. And of course to give the plug-in that's out there. I see Amira Assad. Amira, thank you for tuning in. I know she is currently serving for us on the Adams 12 School Board. Also see Mike. Thank you, Mike, for hopping onto our broadcast today. We have with us the Mayor Nancy McNally for the City of Westminster for just a brief period of time. So our mayor was able to highlight a few things that she has been engaged with over the last few weeks. This is not the end all be all list. And I know she is very receptive to hearing from you all. So if you ever are interested in specific content or have questions for our mayor, always ask us when we're live or send us a quick message to the page. We'll get that over to our mayor, get that taken care of. I know I've made a mental note to check on the City of Brighton State of the City, since ours will be coming up with you, Mayor, in August. So if there is something that we want to try and mimic, I will do my best to look at that model, since
It
you.
was just fun. It was just
Yes.
whimsical. It was great.
Yeah, I love that. I love seeing a lot of different programs and how they're done in an engageful and thoughtful way. And of course, to all of you that are tuned in, whether it's now, later, or on the weekend, thank you for doing your part in staying up to date on the information, engaging with our elected officials. I've dropped a quick link into the chat for you to the agenda for this evening's city council meeting, of course. So if you're interested in going out in person or tuning in virtually, that is the link that will take you to the agenda items, and you can review those and read them at your leisure. Mayor, thank you so much for being on here with me, for being so patient with my tech issues, and for spending
No.
a good portion of the
And
morning.
and the very, very last thing is that I should have started probably at the front. We are well into the city manager search. Today, an email will go out to all employees that work in the city, and we're getting their feedback. We have gotten feedback from a business group, from a citizen group, and each of the counselors and past people that have worked in the city have given input. So input isn't finished yet. This is all just getting to what are we looking at in a city manager. That brochure will then go out. We will set a certain amount of time for resumes to come in. We are working with a firm that is helping us, and once that happens, then we'll have some other opportunities once we get down to some finalists. Those decisions haven't been made yet, but I just want you to know that has been working behind the scenes with everything else going on. That has been working diligently. So we're not letting anything grow under our feet right now.
Well, thank you for staying on top of it. So many competing priorities. We appreciate these updates as they are going underway. So we are included in the process, and really feel like we are seeing some of this change come to life. So very appreciative of you, Mayor. Thank you for that update. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your Monday.
Thanks.
Thank you.